pleased to see Adam's grubby little brother Ronnie marching into her immaculate shop with his snotty nose and holey trousers, demanding to see Adam's ruby, as he'd smeared the contents of his nose across his face with the sleeve of his coat.
"I couldn't come myself,"
said Adam, even his voice sounding different. "But why not? You're on the early shift, aren't you?" Adam was a miner at the Wearmouth Colliery, like his father and older brothers, and since they'd become engaged on Ruby's 16th birthday, she'd been collecting her bottom drawer. Adam had saved hard too, after paying his board to his mam. They'd both been determined to rent a 2-up, 2-down terraced house when they got wed, and to have enough money to partly furnish it too. A few weeks ago a house had come up in Wood Street, a stone's throw from the colliery, and Adam had snapped it up. They'd had a lovely time buying furniture, even if it was all second-hand, but she didn't mind that, nor it being a bit of a walk to her place of work in Southwick. She knew she'd landed on her feet when she'd taken up the position of trainee dressmaker with Mrs. Walton. The elderly widow had no family, and treated her more as the daughter she'd never had than an employee. Mrs. Walton had helped her sew her wedding dress along with the 2 bridesmaids' frocks for Olive and Ellie, Ruby's best friend, and she'd insisted on paying for the material and the hundreds of tiny seed pearls on the bodice of Ruby's dress. It was her wedding present, she'd said, in a tone that brooked no argument. Adam had been staring at her, and now he said quietly,
"It's nothing to do with what shift I'm on. I had to talk to you without anyone else around."
He took a deep breath, his voice cracking as he muttered,
"Oh, Ruby. Ruby. I can't believe it's happening."
"Oh, you're frightening me." She took a step backwards.
"Promise me you won't hate me. Say it. Say you won't."
Ruby had always loved Snowdrop Lane. It was a favourite spot for courting couples, especially in the summer. She and Adam had often met here in the past when wild flowers dotted the grassy banks either side of the path and dappled sunlight slanted through the trees. Although only a short distance from the gridwork pattern of terraced streets stretching to the north and east of Wearmouth Colliery in Monk Wearmouth, where a pall of smoke hung day and night, the air smelled different in Snowdrop Lane. You could almost imagine you were in the country. Tonight their special meeting place wasn't working its magic. Again she said, "Tell me what's wrong."
It's down to New Year's Eve."
"New Year's Eve?" Ruby echoed in bewilderment. "That was weeks ago."
"You know, when you and the others came to ours to see the new year in."
She stared at him. She remembered that night only too well. She'd hated every minute of it. She loved Adam, and he was, thankfully, as different as chalk to cheese from his father and 3 older brothers, who looked upon any and every occasion as an excuse for a drinking bout, as did most of Adam's relatives, it appeared. She hadn't wanted to accept the invitation from his parents, which had extended to her own parents and Olive, but her mother had insisted it would look rude if they refused, and that with the wedding coming up it was better to keep everything nice and friendly. By 10 o'clock, most of the family and friends who were squeezed into the Gilberts' kitchen and front room had been the worse for the whiskey and beer they'd poured down their throats, and even her own Dar had sat in an armchair smiling blearily at everyone and quite unable to form his words. She'd later found out that Adam's older brothers had made it their mission to get him drunk. Partly, Ruby suspected, because Adam made no secret of the fact that he didn't want or need to drink the way they did, which had always riled them. Carefully now, because she didn't want to make him feel worse than he already did about that night, she said, "Isn't that all forgotten now?" By the time the new year had been welcomed in, Adam had been 3 sheets to the wind and wobbly on his legs, and his brothers had carried him upstairs to his bed and dumped him on it.